But that lady, that new press secretary, she's a gangster.
That video, dude.
She's a gangster. They're prepared. And you know why they're prepared? Because they're trying to play gotcha.
Yep.
So she played gotcha with them. She checkmated them.
She came in there with that Elon Musk flamethrower.
Play that video.
Watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
Oh, it finally happened. Karoline Leavitt, a rising political force and unapologetic defender of free speech, just dropped a major legal move on The View with a $500 million defamation lawsuit that's got liberal talking heads clutching their pearls like it's a fire drill at a Chardonnay tasting. Yep, $500 million, because when you go after someone's character with a national megaphone, you shouldn't be shocked when they answer back in a big way. If this has you as fired up as we are, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more straight shooting updates, because this story is just getting started.
I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah. I think Claire, she's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Say what you want about Karoline Leavitt, but she's clearly not backing down from the media machine. She's calling out a show that feels less like real conversation and more like coordinated outrage. And let's be honest, if you're going to get dragged just for being aligned with Donald Trump or for showing a little backbone in politics, you might as well call people out directly and bring the proof. That's exactly what she's doing.
Absolutely not. Let me be unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake up.
Enter Joe Rogan, the internet's bald truth teller and cultural commentator with a solid dose of common sense. From his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, where real nuance still seems to live, he saw the media circus coming and didn't hesitate. Rogan looked at the situation, sized it up, and called it exactly what it was: another familiar move by legacy media to smear anyone who dares to think beyond their carefully guarded echo chamber.
But that lady, that new press secretary, she's a gangster.
That video, dude.
She's a gangster. Have you seen that video?
You've never
Jamie?
seen someone more prepared for a question in your life, Jamie.
Have you seen that? You know what I'm talking about?
Small point on that, not the big point, but small point. She was so prepared for
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, she's supposed to be prepared.
That's why I
Jamie.
said you've never seen someone
You know
more
why?
prepared.
for that.
They're
for that
prepared.
specific question.
While the ladies of The View clutched their mugs and tossed around words like dangerous with about the same depth as a BuzzFeed quiz, Joe Rogan calmly cut through the noise. He didn't need a panel or a script, just a mic, a little common sense, and maybe some elk jerky on the side. His take was simple and straight to the point. This lawsuit wasn't about weakness. It was about pushback. It was about drawing a clear line and saying, no, you don't get to casually wreck someone's reputation just because your ratings need more drama.
If you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about.
Let's zoom in on what actually set this off. It started with a segment on The View, where the show's regular voices, Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg, Sunny Hostin, and whatever intern recently got upgraded to guest host, casually went after Karoline over her politics and background. Not challenged, not debated, just smeared. The kind of offhand defamation that gets waved through because it's wrapped in coffee mugs, laughter, and a live audience. Joy Behar, never one to miss a chance to confuse volume with accuracy, labeled Karoline dangerous. Dangerous for what exactly? Having a clear worldview and the nerve to say it out loud? If strong principles now qualify as a threat, and dangerous apparently just means people who've read the Constitution. Whoopi Goldberg followed with her usual mix of smug distance and vague spiritual wisdom that sounds like it was brainstormed in a Whole Foods parking lot. A lot of words that somehow say everything and nothing at the same time. And Sunny Hostin dusted off her law degree just long enough to misuse it. Like a BuzzFeed intern frantically Googling defamation law for beginners.
So Joy Behar went after Joe Rogan on The View, and he fired back spectacularly.
You're worried about losing your job, and you're worried about podcasts taking over, and who's the source of news, and we said Donald Trump was Hitler, but half the country disagreed with us, and he won, and this is and Joe Rogan believes in dragons.
That's where Karoline Leavitt finally said enough. She didn't whine. She didn't retreat. She took action. She filed. She stood her ground. And Joe Rogan immediately recognized it for what it really was, a cultural moment. Someone finally pushing back against media elites who confuse a TV platform with moral compass. He saw The View exactly as it is, a bachelorette party of bad opinions and even worse facts, a place where logic goes to drown in half-read Twitter threads. Watching that show try to break down politics is like watching toddlers attempt Middle East peace with crayons and juice boxes.
They're prepared. And you know why they're prepared? Because they're trying to play gotcha.
Yep.
So she played gotcha with them. She checkmated them.
She came in there with that fucking Elon Musk flamethrower.
Play that video. Play that video.
Meanwhile, while Karoline Leavitt's legal team was probably busy polishing lawsuits in Comic Sans, Joe Rogan was laughing his head off, maybe knocking over a kettlebell or two along the way. He framed the whole thing as pure performance art, Shakespeare in a courtroom, just with less talent and way more hashtags. Rogan openly praised Karoline for swinging back at The View's nonstop outrage parade. And sure, she's built a career calling out the woke crowd, but this wasn't hypocrisy, it was strategy. If The View wants to dish it out, they should be ready to take it too.
If you ask people, even in the legacy media, even the Trump haters, they will tell you the approach has been much different. Not just from me, but the entire White House. Oh, absolutely. They come in my office every day and they'll admit that off the record. Oh. Maybe not on the record, but they will say they appreciate the access and the transparency and the preparation that goes into my briefings and everybody on our team, by the way, who goes out to the camera.
Joe Rogan didn't tiptoe around it. He said it out loud. Good for her. And then, naturally, he went full scorched earth on The View. Because of course he did. Rogan joked that the show is what happens when daytime TV collides with a menopause convention and nobody brings facts. He tore into their whole routine, yell as loud as possible, claim victim status, then act heroic for surviving inside their own echo chamber. In his view, they're basically mean girls who grew up, got talk shows, and forgot to mature along the way. Strange stuff.
Very strange show, but it's fun to watch. It's just fun to watch them.
It's good entertainment.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
Well, they're just, it's interesting because I think Sunny is very intelligent, but she's ideologically captured.
Right.
That's sort of. I think the other ones. There's a couple of the other ones. Don't have to name any names. Who are just very dull-minded. But I think Sunny's not one of them. I think she's smart. But
from DeSantis to any red hat wearing passerby, The View seems to be at war with anyone who isn't sipping their progressive brunch mimosa. If Joy Behar doesn't agree with you, you're instantly labeled evil, brainwashed, or next in line for cancellation before the commercials roll. Their version of political debate is crying into a scented candle and calling for federal charges. Joe Rogan, on the other hand, is the anti-View, the guy who could invite Bernie Sanders and Alex Jones to the same barbecue, calmly chew on elk jerky, and let everyone else argue about reality. He's the adult in the room, even if he's wearing camo and talking about space apes. So when he saw Karoline Leavitt suing The View, he didn't hesitate. He laughed and applauded, because deep down everyone knew it was time someone pushed back. Let's not pretend The View is PBS. This isn't journalism, it's Judge Judy with hot flashes. Political improv with no script and even less logic. The moment a different opinion shows up, it turns into an exorcism. Karoline walked onto that set knowing she'd be met with smug questions and thinly veiled snark, so she flipped the script. Turning their gotcha moment into a courtroom fight wasn't a meltdown, it was a move, and potentially a very profitable one.
People want us divided, and they aren't just here in this country. They're foreign adversaries who are infiltrating our social media because it is prudent for us to stay that way. So when you see something that really pisses you off, you should triple check that one.
Yeah. But I think that's why people like our show, because they know that we are checked by ABC News. But
we're checked by everybody.
Yeah. I mean, if we're wrong, we have, the legal note here.
the human legal.
But we went from Walter Cronkite, basically, to this guy Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. I checked it. He believes in dragons. He believes in dragons.
Did you triple source that?
Yes, I did.
Joe Rogan understood it immediately. This lawsuit was never about legal precedent. It was about presence, visibility, and owning the headlines like a cage fight. And Karoline Leavitt walked in swinging, not with tweets or clapbacks, but with subpoenas instead. Rogan didn't just recognize the move, he respected it. Because he's watched The View run the same play for years, throwing verbal punches from behind a velvet rope of opinions, then ducking the moment anyone hits back. If you criticize them, it's misogyny. If you don't applaud, it's censorship. And if one of them reads a Wikipedia page without blinking, it's called bravery. But when Karoline fired back with a lawyer instead of sass, suddenly the whole panel was reaching for the smelling salts like Southern belles at a truth convention. You'd think she marched into the studio slinging the Constitution like a sword. Rogan didn't just laugh, he backed the chaos. Because in his view, if a show can spend every morning treating disagreement like a personal attack and turning minor pushback into death-on-one drama, it doesn't get to cry foul when the drama comes flying back like a well-earned boomerang.
It is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching and hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies-infested hen house.
And this is a panel show that still can't decide whether it wants to be morning TV or a group therapy session for failed influencers. Half the time it feels like a wellness retreat gone off the rails, complete with passive-aggressive affirmations and sudden flashes of rage. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan is just sitting back, sipping mushroom tea, watching the meltdown like it's the Super Bowl of self-inflicted PR disasters. Karoline Leavitt might not even win the lawsuit, but she's already winning the narrative, and Rogan knows it. She's positioning herself as the woman who took a swing at the hydra of hysteria and lived to talk about it. At the same time, The View is flailing, sounding more like a high school drama club auditioning for CNN than a serious show. Rogan isn't mad the lawsuit exists. He's annoyed it didn't happen sooner, because every time those hosts play the victim after being challenged, they look more absurd. And Rogan, a master at turning absurdity into content, has a front row seat courtesy of his Spotify deal. This isn't really politics anymore. It's a content war. And Joe's the only one who knows he's already winning.
My side.
Yes. Yes.
And that's their audience.
Yes. Well, their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen audiences before for TV shows, but a lot of them are paid. They're paid to be there. So, because they have to guarantee that there's going to be people there. So there's services that you hire. And when a show gets really, really popular, you know, like Letterman or something like that, obviously it has its own fan base.
Right.
And those people will try to get tickets before anybody else does. And in that case, they probably don't need to use a service anymore. They just get actual fans. But arguably, like, the fans, the real fans of The View that are like, oh, these ladies are on point. Most of those people can't leave the house. Like, they're probably immobile.
Right.
Let's call it what it really is. Reality TV with subpoenas and a side of ego flambe. Nobody here is hunting for truth. They're chasing clout like it's on clearance at Target. This isn't about principles. It's about screen time, social media engagement, and hanging on to whatever cultural relevance is left. Karoline Leavitt isn't just pushing back. She's flipping the whole table Real Housewives style. And Joe Rogan is right there, handing her the lighter, the gasoline, and probably a protein shake. Because in modern America, why bother with calm debate when you can file a lawsuit in Comic Sans? Why settle an argument when you can rebrand yourself as the wounded phoenix of justice rising from the ashes of sarcasm? Karoline gets the clicks, the fundraising emails, and another Fox News hit. The View gets backlash, outrage clicks, and Joy Behar's 19th meltdown of the week. And Rogan, he gets more downloads, more eyeballs, and another excuse to rant for 3 hours about how society's lost the plot, somehow looping it all back to elk meat, DMT, and a fall of Rome.
Whoopi Goldberg's, like, did you see what she did to that Staten Island bakery?
Yeah.
No.
Crazy.
What?
So
She ate
Staten
everything.
Island Bakery, their boiler went down, and she placed an order of cupcakes for her birthday. And they couldn't
Hold
do
on. I can't imagine yet how this would go bad. Okay, go ahead.
So she places this order. They say, we can't promise you that we can do this because our boiler is down. So we can't fulfill this order. And so then the next day, the boiler's back up. She has someone else call the same bakery, and they get the order in because now the boiler's up. She claims the reason why they didn't take her order is because they didn't like her politics. And so she says this on The View. So then the bakery has a press conference where they say, we've been in business for 150 years. This is not what happened at all. We don't discriminate against anybody regardless of anything. We just had a problem with our boiler, and she's singling out a family-run business, and then there's a line around the block for the bakery.
It's not democracy. It's daytime court cosplay, and Joe Rogan is the jester who sees straight through the act. The View preaches inclusion but shuts out any idea that makes them feel emotionally uncomfortable. Karoline Leavitt calls them on it, and suddenly she's public enemy number one. Rogan's the only one laughing, while everyone else pretends this is serious, thoughtful debate. So now we watch Karoline toss subpoenas like confetti. The View drown in its own outrage, and Rogan turn the whole mess into high-octane podcast fuel. It's a three-ring circus of ideological chaos, and Rogan already sold out the popcorn stand. The real winner here isn't Karoline or the lawyers. It's the bald guy with a mic, a laugh, and zero filter, spinning this cultural circus into streaming gold. Because if this elk-scented melodrama has taught us anything, it's that everyone's offended, everyone's suing, and Joe Rogan is still winning.